like to meet you. Yes. Hi, how are you? That's what are you okay holding
It's
up?
okay,
Okay,
no
it's okay.
problem, yeah.
Do you have a belt?
I don't have it, I have
You can do that. But then,
Hi, how are you? She's come to help.
but she's going to help. Then you can pass this.
Okay.
One.
TED Talks, yeah, we have done TED Talks before. Yeah. Iko hapa. Sasa. Yes, okay. I hope that's it's okay. Yes. Huh? Like kabisa. Your moral supporters are there. Abdullah amevaa mask.
Want to check.
Aisha. Mimi. Watch moves. Then you've not spoken. So you tell me, you know, ndo nalipangani. Akina mimi. The thing is, I know. Wakisemanga wanasema, hi sweetie, thank you baba. Amen. Thank you mama.
No, kila mtu
Ametaja.
ni vile ulikuwa unashughulikiwa.
Ametaja kila mtu. Akimbiza na wakinga. Akimbiza. Kwa kweli kama pesa tu wakinga. Anaomba jipesa. Dunde wana. Kunde mjini yangu jipesa. Nipana sawa asili kunde jipesa.
Excuse me.
It's visible. No, me later, not now. I'm actually just tired. Pesa. Wala kwenda nonge jipesa. Yeah.
Want to check. Want to. Want to. Want to check. Want to. Want to.
Check 1 2. Yes, 1 2.
Want to. 1, 2, check. Thank you. 1, 2.
Time. Unasema je, tungoje mwana? Unasema tungoje? Asiharakishwe. wanangojewa mmoja. Wanangojewa mmoja. Because kuna mmoja anangojewa.
You have to take me.
Good afternoon and welcome to the ICJ Kenya and KMJ Great Big Debate. This debate is convened because the term of the Judicial Service candidate, or rather the commissioner, has come to an end. And as such, we have 5 candidates who wish to replace the JSC commissioner to the representative of the Kenya Magistrates and Judges Association. I have the singular honor of introducing today's moderator, the person who will carry the conversation, guide questions, and also ask the candidates what is their vision as the next JSC representative. He's a journalist, an interviewer, a moderator. He has 20 years experience as a media practitioner. He is the host of the Situation Room on Spice FM, which can be viewed on KTN Home. Welcome, Mr. Eric Latif. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Matheka. Asante sana. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this afternoon's The Big Debate. To begin this debate, I'd like us to go straight into welcoming remarks, and the first welcoming remark will be made by the chairman of ICJ Kenya, Mr. Calvin Mogeni. Mr. Mogeni, tafadhali.
Thank you, Eric. And on behalf of the Council of ICJ, the Secretariat, and the membership of the juries, I wish to thank you, the Kenya Magistrates and Judges Association, for partnering with the ICJ to undertake this process, which is the epitome of our public participation, to ensure that we have what we call public accountability in the process of appointing commissioners to the Judicial Service Commission. We are alive to the fact that Article 171, 2D requires that we have 2 representatives to the Judicial Service Commission from amongst the judges and magistrates. Today, we're having 5 candidates amongst the lady representatives from the magistracy. I do not want to overemphasize, now that we have these debates on constitutional change, why I think we need to have a conversation on representation to the Judicial Service Commission at this stage. The reason I'm saying that, and what we need to ensure we all understand, is that as we have the conversation in increasing the representations to the Judicial Service Commission, we know there are candidate parties who are not properly represented in that particular forum. For example, in the High Court, the lady representatives are not in place. It has become now an exclusive jurisdiction for male judges of the High Court to represent the High Court. And it has also become clearly that ladies will represent the magistrates from the magistracy. That is a topic for discussion by those who are taking the constitutional debate at the moment. What I want to emphasize is that you as candidates, your position is going to be very clearly to enforce Chapter 6 when you're going to sit there as commissioners. That is, you're going to undertake the process of disciplinary, and you're going to ensure that judicial accountability that all of us have been craving for is properly enforced. And I think it is the duty that you, as you stand before the public, the Kenyan people, you're going to tell us, how do you think you're going to ensure that that process of accountability, the process of ensuring discipline and enforcement of Chapter 6 is properly articulated, and you're going to set it out for us? Of course, we don't want to forget one thing, that it is for you to ensure that judicial independence is properly protected. As members of the Judicial Service Commission, it is you who are going to ensure that the persons who are going to represent us in that arm of the government are going to represent what the people of Kenya have and aspire to have. Of course, in the last few days, we know that judicial independence is under attack. It is not an issue that we are taking very lightly. We respect the handshake. We respect BBI, but it must be done with the non-democratic principles that ensure that the rule of law and constitutionalism is properly protected, such that whereas we appreciate interdependence of various government arms, we must remember that interdependence can only exist if independence of that arms, those other arms are well respected. Of course, we have asked, we have tried to ensure that we have the Judiciary Ombudsman, but the Judiciary Ombudsman does not mean creating a commission that is going to undertake process as a commission together with the existing commission within the Constitution. And we don't want to create a monster that is going to have issues of accountability and administrative processes failing us as we go together in this journey of constitutional change. Yes, we want judicial accountability, but it must be done in ensuring that we enforce the process that we have in place at the moment. I want to emphasize that when the Judicial Service Commission has undertaken processes within the provisions allowed under Constitution, I do not see how failing to honor those dictums of the Judicial Service Commission can result in us having changes in the current provisions that protect the judicial independence. We hope that the executive and the legislature are listening, that we want to ensure that whenever appointments of judges have been undertaken, let's respect that, because the public wants the numbers. We want to ensure that the case backlogs are taken care of, and that we're moving on in administration of justice. And I believe that all sector players in the process of administration of justice are going to be facilitated in this new constitution. And the final thing I want to state, and I think it's up to the candidates to ensure that that is properly undertaken, the Judicial Service Commission must come up to ensure that the judiciary fund is properly protected, and it can be enshrined properly in this current constitution in between 2.5 to 4% of the GDP, which we have been craving to ensure that it is there in the constitution. On behalf of the ICJ, I want to thank Madam Jacqueline Kamau for partnering with us. That is the Kenya Magistrates and Judges Association and the International Commission of Jurists in undertaking this process of judicial and accountability and public participation in ensuring that this process is smooth. I thank you all and welcome you to this afternoon's great debate. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you very much, Board Chairman. That is the Chairman of ICJ Kenya, Mr. Kelvin Mugeni, giving us the opening remarks to this. The second opening remarks will come from the President of the Kenya Magistrates and Judges Association, and help me welcome the Honourable Lady Justice Jacqueline Kamau to the podium to deliver the opening remarks. You will bear with us as we're sanitizing the mic. We understand that we have to observe all the protocols for COVID-19. So as the mic is being sanitized, this is the President of the Kenya Magistrates and Judges Association in the country, the Honourable Justice Jacqueline Kamau, after which we will get into the debate proper.
Thank you very, very much. I don't know whether you can still hear me with the mask on or whether you'd like me to remove it. I can proceed maybe with the mic on if you can still hear me.
Yes, Judge, you can hear.
All right. So good afternoon, everybody. The chairman of ICJ, Mr. Kelvin Mugeni, the executive director, Mr. Abdul Nur Muhammad, I believe he's absent, but in absentia, we recognize him as the head of the secretariat. Elsie Saina, the head of programs, Julie Wayua, the program manager, Silas Kamanza, program officer, the technical team, all the way from ICJ Kenya. I cannot forget Honourable S.G. Kuto, the Secretary General of Kenya Magistrates and Judges Association, Daniel Sepu, who is the Executive Director, and leading the Secretariat of Maureen and Janet. We are glad that you're here. To the candidates, Dolphina, Honourable Dolphina, Atambo, Florence, Bosibori, and Olwande. I know I've mixed all the names, but all honorables. So we thank you in no particular order of preference. And most importantly, Mr. Eric Latif, we are extremely delighted to have you as the moderator. And for the candidates to see how important this debate has been taken by the whole country. It is not an easy position that you're going to take because of the kind of challenges that have been thrown towards you by the chairman of the ICJ. So even as you run for this candidature, it is not for your own self, but it is for the purpose of ensuring that the Kenyan public is properly protected. And that's the reason why we want, and quite a number of questions are going to be asked to you by members of public, by our own honorable members from the association, to ensure that at least the person who goes there is a person who really understands the import of that office. So I want to say that, as you can see, this is a very hotly contested election. I don't think we've ever had 5 candidates and 5 vivacious good sisters. It is a very, very good thing to be seen because it means that there's democracy and everybody is interested and may the best person win, isn't it? And then after that, we still continue to remain as sisters in the judiciary because there'll only be one representative. Now, this platform, the reason that, and I'm very glad that ICJ picked it up as we're discussing this matter with Julie Wayua, and we recognize that during this period of COVID-19, there are quite a number of places that you would have wanted to go and visit, but you are not able to visit. So this is a platform that allows you, because at least it is virtual, quite a number of people are able to tune in and then understand who are their candidates. I know there were some write-ups in the newspaper, but you see that is a write-up that is done by somebody else. But this time we are here to hear what you're telling us because not everything would have been captured. So we are happy that this is a platform that has been given to you for the first time in the history of KMJ, in the history of JSC constitution, for you to be able to give us what your ideas are all about. Now, I want to thank the ICJ in particular because you've really supported our activities as KMJA, but mainly even in this particular one because it's the first. And we are glad and we hope that even in future, the questions are, will the judges also subject themselves to this kind of debate? There's a question that has been asked. And we are saying that because it's an issue that is for the public, it's not your own personal position. Remember, even when you're given a position as a judge or a judicial officer, it is the Kenyan public that is giving you that and exercising that power through the people. They've given you that authority to you as provided in the Constitution. So I do not want to take a lot of time, but just to say thank you so much, Eric Latif, for taking the time because I know you're very, very busy. So, but it's something that you have decided to do as a citizen of this country to guide us and because of your expertise. So we hope that everything that happens will have a fantastic afternoon. So thank you very much because I know I'm not the star here. It is you candidates. So let me stop there, Mr. Moderator. And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. Asanteni.
Thank you very much, the Honourable Justice Jacqueline Kamau, President of the Kenya Magistrates and Judges Association. Asante sana for those opening remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this big debate for candidates to the female magistrate position at the Judicial Service Commission. As the objectives and importance has already been shared by the ICJ chairman and the president of the KMJA, let me introduce you quickly to our candidates. And our candidates this year are the Honourable Dolphina Alego, Senior Principal Magistrate in Kakamega, the Honourable Stella Atambo, she's a Senior Principal Magistrate in Kiambu. We have the Honourable Florence Masharia, Senior Principal Magistrate in Shanzu, the Honourable Teresa Bosibori Nyangena, she is a Senior Principal Magistrate in Kiambu, and the Honourable Evelyn Olwande, Senior Principal Magistrate in Limuru. Quickly to take you through the running order of this afternoon's debate, we're going to have a number of sessions. And the first session is going to be introductions and presentation of manifesto. Here we will have each candidate take 5 minutes to introduce themselves, tell us why they are vying for the position of the JSC, and also give us a summary of their manifesto, what they stand for, what they hope to achieve should they get elected to the Judicial Service Commission. Each candidate here will have 5 minutes. The second segment of today's debate will be the question and answer session, which I will start by posing some questions on the areas of independence of the judiciary, areas touching on welfare of judicial officers, areas touching on the operationalization of the judiciary. And we'll also welcome questions from members of the audience. Remember, this debate is being streamed on Zoom, on YouTube, and other platforms. So we'd like to encourage everybody who's watching in and would like to ask a question to any of the candidates, please write in, say the candidate that you'd like to respond to the question, and then ask your question. We will sample some of them and we will pose them to the candidates this afternoon. In this segment, each candidate will get 2 minutes to answer the same question. And in the event that any of the candidates is adversely mentioned by another candidate when they're responding to their question, we will give the mentioned candidate 1 minute right of reply. And then the third segment will be the closing remarks, where each candidate will then get 2 minutes to make the final pitch, final presentation to the audience. Quickly, the rules of this debate this afternoon. We'd like to ask all the candidates, please do not interrupt a speaker when they are making their presentation. Strictly observe to the allocated time. There is a timer that will be visible to all the candidates. When you run out of your time, your mic will be switched off and you will see the clock running down. Would like to urge you all candidates, please stay on topic. Let's be cordial. Let's be civil. You're all honorable magistrates after all. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into this debate. And the first order of business now, I'd like to welcome the candidates to give us their manifesto, to introduce themselves to us, to give us a summary of their manifesto and what they stand for. I'd like to call up onto the stage our first candidate this afternoon, the Honourable Dolphina Alego. She's a senior principal magistrate in Kakamega. Honourable Alego, tafadhali. Honourable Alego, my timer is to my right. You will see the clock counting down, and your 5 minutes begin now.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in, and for those who are on board on the platform, we thank you very much. Thank you so much, ICJ, also for giving us this opportunity. And most importantly, I want to thank my sisters. It's been a journey, it's been a year-old journey, and you've all become heroes. I celebrate all of you. Getting to my point, I would want to introduce myself. As been said, my name is Dolphina Alego. I was appointed a district magistrate 2 professional in the year 2003. I've served in Siaya, Low Courts, Eldoret, Kapsabet, and currently at Kakamega Low Courts. I think out of all the candidates, seemingly I'm the only one from Mashinani, so I'm Team Mashinani. I hold a Bachelor of Social Legislature and a Bachelor in Law from Dr. Bamu in India. I also have a Master's in Conflict Resolution from Kampala International University. I am a Draper Hills Fellow from Stanford University on Leadership and Development, year 2018. I'm also a Fellow from the Kofi Annan International Peace Training Center, that is on international elections and law enforcement. I equally am a Fellow from Legon, Lesia, on peace building and good governance from the University of Ghana. I've also attended various regional and international courses and presented papers in Israel, Zimbabwe, in the USA, Ghana, South Africa, Zambia, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Zanzibar, just to name but a few. I'm the immediate past chair of the Rural Women Peace Link in Eldoret, and also the North Rift chair for KMJ in the year 2013 and 2015. Also was the Secretary General for the Secretary General and Treasurer for the East African Judges and Magistrates Association. To my point and what I believe in, just why we are all here, there are 5 points. I have a 5-point agenda. My first agenda is on mentorship. And that is something that we all embrace, and that's why we should be actually where we are currently. Another thing I'm very passionate about is teamwork. And that is also to all of us, that we all have to embrace teamwork wherever we are and at all time. And that's why we have a team of 5 with very beautiful ladies on board. I'm also very passionate about service to humanity that cuts across for all of us, that we cannot do without, because humanity is inherent. You're born with it, you can't do without it. Servitude leadership, you cannot lead if you're not a servant to the people. And that is my basic, my prime pride. Let me use the word pride, not in a bad way, but that is what makes me go for these things. And lastly, and very most importantly, ourselves. How do we go about our selfness, our wellness at any given time? A lot happens in our courtrooms, a lot happens outside our courtrooms. We need to have ourselves in check by debriefing and in what platforms. This has been a great opportunity. Democracy is all here with us. We are all worthy opponents in a very worthy cause, and this is what I congratulate my sisters for. Having said that, I think I will let it be as we go through the questions and answers and what the public is going to bring to our side. We'll be able to answer this. I will leave it at that, and thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you so much, our moderator.
Thank you very much, Honourable Delphina Alego, Senior Principal Magistrate Kakamega. Thank you for enumerating your points and selling your agenda. Our second candidate this afternoon to introduce herself and to share her manifesto is the Honourable Stella Atambo. Honourable Atambo is a Senior Principal Magistrate in Kiambu. Honourable Atambo, karibu to the podium. You will have 5 minutes to introduce yourself, to tell us what you stand for, why you think you're the best candidate for this position, and share with us a brief of your manifesto. Honourable Atambo, I hope you can see the timer.
Okay. Yes.
There you go.
Yes, I see it.
Your time starts now.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Good afternoon, everyone, my dear brothers and sisters. All protocol observed. My name is Stella Atambo, a Senior Principal Magistrate at Kiambu Law Courts. And you will ask that, so who is Stella Atambo? Stella Atambo is a transformative, amiable, and a servant leader. I am currently at Kiambu Law Courts. I hold a bachelor's degree in commerce, business organization, and accounting. I also have an LLB degree. I am a certified public professional mediator. I am also a chartered mediator. So, why Stella? I'll start from there. Why Stella? Stella is an agent of change. I believe in change. What do I mean when I'm talking about change? I believe that when elected as commissioner, I will bring about accessibility to the commission. And when I talk about accessibility, I am talking about leadership that is not only accessible, but reachable and available. Stella Atambo believes in open and accountable leadership. What I mean by open and accountable, that is leadership at the commission that gives feedback, whether negative or positive. I believe in an internal dispute resolution mechanism. Now, for my fellow judicial officers, this is a culture I want to bring on board. This is why I say Stella Atambo is an agent of change. When we look at our disciplinary process, it is wanting, indeed wanting, because as a judicial officer, you are not given a chance to explain yourself before you get that letter telling you go home. So you're first presumed guilty before you prove your innocence. It is the other way around. Quickly on to my next pillar. Stella Atambo believes in improvement of judicial welfare, judicial culture and welfare. What do I mean by this? As magistrates, as kadhis, what culture do we have in place? How do we take care of each other in instances like retirement? What happens to a magistrate or a kadhi as they head for retirement, as they go on retirement? What about our welfare as judicial officers? We work under very difficult circumstances. What about our promotions? What happens when a magistrate or a kadhi is stuck in one job group or in one cadre for 7 years? Interviews, no feedback, and yet no promotion. How long can you be in purgatory? These are the questions I am asking. And this is why I am saying Stella Atambo is an agent of change. My other pillar, or the last but not least, is judicial innovation. As judicial officers, there are things that we can work out at station level and make our work comfortable, because as it were, we already work under very difficult circumstances. How are we doing this? Mentorship. Are we mentoring each other? Are we there for each other so that at entry point, a resident magistrate knows I have a mentor and these are the steps I'm going to go through. So that is all that I stand for. Thank you very much. My time is up. We'll talk more.
Thank you very much, Honourable Atombo. Your time is up. Asante sana for your presentation. Let's now welcome our third candidate this afternoon. This is the Honourable Florence Masharia. Honourable Masharia is the Senior Principal Magistrate in Shanzu. Honourable Masharia, you'll have your 5 minutes to introduce yourself, tell us why you think you're the best candidate for this position this year, and also give us your manifesto. Your time starts now.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity where we are able to engage our colleagues. And I am Florence Masharia, Senior Principal Magistrate, Shanzu Law Courts. I am an advocate of the High Court with an experience of 19 years, 2 of which I've practiced at the Aegis Chambers and 15 in the Judiciary. And I am a graduate of the University of Nairobi, where I hold an LLM. I'm also a graduate of the University of South Africa, where I hold an LLM in international human rights. I also have a postgraduate diploma and a postgraduate diploma in human resource management. I'm an accredited mediator through the Strathmore Dispute Resolution Center. And one of the reasons as to why I decided to vie for this position, I joined the judiciary as a young magistrate, where I knew this is where my path of my career is going to be. I came in with very huge dreams, because every magistrate who joined the judiciary, or every kadhi that joins the judiciary, you have dreams of rising up the ranks. For magistrates, we hope that one day we will sit in the Supreme Court, or at least in the High Court. For kadhis, I know they hope that one day they will be in the topmost level in their line. But those dreams, when you get into the judiciary, it's like those dreams kind of die. You come in and the upward mobility is not guaranteed. We've seen judicial officers who've served in our stations for over 30 years and they retire without even going to the High Court. We've seen judicial officers who've been placed in disciplinary processes where we say it's not fair. And we've also seen where we go for interviews, it's not guaranteed that you're going to have the promotions. And there's this fear that the promotions are either done based on how you know the people up there, but what I want to bring into the judiciary, that my dream when I came in as a judicial officer, that young magistrate, that one day I will make it to the apex of the judiciary. And I'm not only carrying my dream, I'm also the bearer of the dreams of so many other magistrates that they are going to grow in the judiciary. And what I have as my manifesto, I'm focusing on the welfare of the judicial officers. I'm also focusing on the fair process in the disciplinary process. I'm also focusing on the career growth of the magistrates. And also, I'm also focusing on a JSC that cares, a JSC that listens, a JSC that has a human face. And I'm also focusing on the fair and timely promotions of the judicial officers. And then we also have to bridge the gap, because every magistrate that comes in, you want to be a judge of the High Court. Why do we want to become judges of the High Court? It's because judges of the High Court have better terms and conditions of service. And as a commissioner, or if you elect me as your commissioner, I will ensure that the service and terms of the judicial officers are so great that none of the judicial officers would even miss to be in the Superior Court, because you are going to enjoy the same kind of terms and conditions.
Honourable Masharia, your time is up. Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation this afternoon. Anybody who's joining this debate online right now, welcome to the big debate. This is the debate for the 2020 candidates for the KMJA representative to the Judicial Service Commission. It is live streaming on Zoom. It's also live streaming on Twitter under the handle ICJ Kenya, and also on YouTube on the channel ICJ Kenya. Would like to encourage our audience, if you've got any question to any of our candidates this year, you can go to the chat section of Zoom or even on Twitter and YouTube comments and type your question. We will sample some of those questions and pose them to our candidates. Let's now welcome the fourth candidate this year, and this is the Honourable Teresa Bosibori Nyangena. Honourable Nyangena is the Senior Principal Magistrate in Kiambu. The Honourable Nyangena will now have 5 minutes to introduce herself and tell us why she is the best suited candidate for this position, why she should be elected on Saturday when the elections are held, and what she will do if she gets elected to the Judicial Service Commission. Honourable Nyangena, please. Good afternoon.
I hope I'll be as audible as my colleagues. I was warned that some mics are missing on me, but I'll try the best. As you've heard, I'm Nyangena. I hold an LLB from Moi University in Eldoret. I am an LLM student, University of Nairobi, where I majored on constitutional law and governance. I also won a scholarship to the United Kingdom to study international human rights law. This after a lot of grilling from the UK, and I was found suitable to be a scholar for international human rights law in Britain. I practiced law for 4 years and also worked for LSK, where I handled issues of discipline against advocates. I also worked for several law firms that engage in various disciplines of law. I joined the Judiciary early 2007 to date. The reason why I've offered myself is because I believe I'm a leader wherever I am. And this is because this is an opportunity I've had since I was a young girl. I believe that in any institution, there needs to be appropriate leadership, genuine leadership that creates good environment for everyone, the young, the old, gender, and disability. I mean creation, what I mean human beings. Working as a magistrate has exposed me to a lot of things. One, There are a lot of gaps in the leadership of this institution, right from the top to the bottom. And this is because of what I have experienced personally as a judicial officer. There is poor HR policies touching on especially magistrates and caddies and their staff. This is to do with their transfers, to do with their promotions, their disciplinary, their allowances, their remuneration, their further education, what we would call further studies. Generally poor HR. Our HR is wanting in a great deal, and no one has dared to ruffle the feathers on that department, which is the engine of an organization. And issues of transfers are very important because a magistrate is a messenger of law. This is a servant of the law and therefore must be supported by all, including the executive and parliament, even the society, the civil societies, the LSK, the police. We all need to support a magistrate. The magistrates have no securities. Magistrates have no means of transport that is reliable. Magistrates' families are suffering. Magistrates have lost their families in the line of duty. Magistrates' extended families are neglected. And magistrates are seen as leaders wherever they are, even in their own families. They're expected to help in resolving disputes. And so as a magistrate, you've been elevated so high because of Chapter 6, but then at the same time, you have no support. You are actually treated as the accused or the suspect of all times. And our MPs have not helped any better as they do the laws. Magistrates' work is to interpret and implement the law. The law comes from God, one, it comes from our parliament, our people. Judicial authority is from the people, therefore, we are only accountable to the people of Kenya. And therefore, when we see it as magistrates, we need mental wellness.
Honourable Nyangena?
Yes.
Your time is up. Thank you very much, Honourable Teresa Bosibori Nyangena, Senior Principal Magistrate in Kiambu. Let's now hear from our final candidate this year, and this is the Honourable Evelyn Olwande. She is a Senior Principal Magistrate in Limuru. The Honourable Olwande will have 5 minutes to introduce herself, tell us why she is the best suited candidate for this year, why she should be elected when elections are held on Saturday to represent the KMJA, the Judicial Service Commission. Honourable Olwande, your time starts now.
Thank you very much, Eric. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to be here today. By way of introduction, my name is Olwande Evelyn. I'm a senior principal magistrate working at Limuru Law Courts. I am also one of the aspirants vying for this position. I have a bachelor's degree in arts, political science, and sociology. I also have a degree in law from the University of South Gujarat. I'm also an accredited mediator from the Center of Dispute Resolution. So why have I chosen to vie? I have served in this institution for 15 years. And in this period, I've been entrusted with various leadership positions. Of course, from that point, I was able to engage with most of our members, and I came alive to the very many issues that plague our members. My leadership position culminated in my election as a vice president of KMJA. And during my tenure, working with the ABLE team in the Executive Council, we were able to achieve a lot of things. As by way of example, we were able to lobby for expansion of the establishment. Recently, I'm sure we are aware, we underwent promotional interviews. There are more slots available for members to, in terms of career progression, thanks to the team that I worked with. There are many other things that we were able to achieve, but there were many others we were not able to achieve. We tried lobbying for them, but we were not quite successful. We ended up even litigating on some of them. But these are the things that compelled me to make the bold decision to vie for this position. My hope being that in the boardroom of the JSC, I'd be more effective in sorting out most of the issues that plague judicial officers than the position where I was in, where basically most I could do is lobby. In the boardroom, that's where decisions are made. So my manifesto in a nutshell was created by the members that I seek to represent. I created a WhatsApp platform on which we engaged. And out of the engagements, we came up with 3 pillars. The first pillar in my manifesto deals with the relationship of independence and interdependence between the judiciary and the other arms of government and government agencies. I'm looking at managing that relationship in the first pillar. In the second pillar, I'm looking at welfare. In the judiciary, we tend to focus a lot on the service we give to Wanjiku. But it's also important to remember that for Wanjiku to get service, the men and women that give service to Wanjiku have to be taken care of. So I am prioritizing the issues of welfare, and here I'm talking about promotion, discipline, training, performance, all those details. In the last pillar, I'm about empowering judicial officers, giving them a voice, giving them a platform where they can be able to raise their issues and have them addressed. This brings with it accountability. This brings with it transparency. This brings with it accessibility. The details of how I go about all that is captured in my manifesto, in the manifesto that we developed with my colleagues. So basically, that is what I'm about. And on that platform, I'm reaching out to our members to do the wise thing and to support me in this venture for the benefit of us all as members of the judiciary, for the benefit of the institution of the judiciary, and for the benefit of Mwananchi. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Evelyn Ulwande, Senior Principal Magistrate from Limuru. Ladies, we thank you very much for presenting, for introducing yourselves to us, for presenting your manifesto, for giving us your leadership credentials and your integrity. We are now going to have the technical team set up the stage so that we move into the second segment of this afternoon's debate, where all of you are going to respond to a number of questions. Just to remind you that in this segment, we will have questions touching on several thematic areas. Independence of the judiciary is one of them. Welfare of judicial officers is another. We'll also look at questions from the audience and those who are joining us, watching us online, on Zoom, on ICJ Kenya Twitter handle, or ICJ Kenya channel on YouTube. Please feel free to send your questions. Our technical team is also reviewing the questions. We will pick some of the questions and pose them to the candidate. How we'd like your question to come in is just tell us the candidate that you'd like this question to go to. If you'd like the question to go to all the candidates that indicate the same, and then ask your question. It would be important if you'd like us to mention your name. The rules for this segment are each candidate will get 2 minutes to answer a question, and this will be the same question answered by each candidate for 2 minutes. In the event that any of the candidates is adversely mentioned by another candidate during their presentation, then we will give that candidate a right of reply for a minute. We are hoping that this debate will remain cordial, civil. We have honorable magistrates with us. And as we continue with this conversation, then we'll ask all the candidates to observe the time limits. Once again, just to reintroduce you to our candidates for this year, we have the Honourable Delphina Alego, Senior Principal Magistrate in Kakamega, the Honourable Stella Atambo, Senior Principal Magistrate in Kiambu, Honourable Florence Masharia, Senior Principal Magistrate in Shanzu, Honourable Teresa Bosibori Nyangena, Senior Principal Magistrate in Kiambu, and the Honourable Evelyn Ulwande, Senior Principal Magistrate in Limuru. These are our 5 candidates this year seeking to be elected to represent the KMJA, the Judicial Service Commission. Our podium is now ready, and I'll ask our candidates to please take your slots. Same order, kindly. We'll start with you, Honourable Alego, on that podium. And then we'll have Honourable Atambo, Honourable Masharia, Honourable Nyangena, and Honourable Ulwande. At the end of this session, we will then move to the final segment of this afternoon's debate, where we will then give each of you another 5 minutes to make your final pitch and presentation to the electorate and to the public. As the ICJ chairman and also the president of KMJA said in their opening remarks, ladies, we respect and honor you for presenting yourselves for this position. And you also understand that occupying a position in the Judicial Service Commission, you are not only serving members of the association, you are serving Kenyans, you're serving the public. So be seeking to understand what you will bring to the table in the Judicial Service Commission, how you'll help to advance the rule of law in the country, how you'll have to advance our democracy in the country. Technical team, are we ready? Right. So I want to ask a number of questions, and the first question that goes to all of you touches on the independence of the judiciary. As the chairman of ICJ Kenya, Mr. Kelvin Mogeni, stated, and it's very clear to everybody, judicial independence is under attack. As a member of the Judicial Service Commission, what will you do to promote and safeguard judicial independence and entrench public confidence in the judiciary? Again, as a member of the JSC, what will you do to promote and safeguard judicial independence and entrench public confidence in the judiciary? The first person to take this question is Honourable Dolphina Alego. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you so much for that question. And I'll not take much time to that answering that question. The judicial independence, it's true, is actually an attack. That's usually I say democracy on attack. As one of the arms of the government, I think we need to bring on board all the stakeholders who actually bring to play what the judiciary is all about. The executive, the legislature, sit down and discuss what is it that we can do for each other and talk with each other and not talk at each other. Secondly, the judiciary fund should be something we should now actually be released now to the judiciary so that we are able to run our activities without having to ask or beg for financial aid from any other person. I think with financial autonomy, that gets us to another level of doing things. That said, I think those are the basic 2 things, stakeholder engagements and autonomy of the funds to the judiciary.
Thank you very much, Honourable Alego. The same question to be answered by Honourable Stella Atambo.
Thank you, Eric, for that question. I'll just say 2 things about this. The independence of the judiciary can only be upheld by just upholding the Constitution. This is by promoting a culture of decisional independence, and this can happen by desisting from attempting to influence any decisions that judicial officers make. Number 2, this independence can be upheld by financial independence. What do I mean by this? As a member of the JSC, I will ensure, or I will just collaborate with my colleagues to ensure that the judiciary fund is up and running. Independence goes with interdependence. As a member of that commission, I will ensure that I participate in activities that is, when we talk about like the NCAJ, those activities that involve all the stakeholders, collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Atambo. Honourable Masharia, what will you do to promote and safeguard judicial independence and entrench public confidence?
The judiciary is an arm of the government because we have the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. And each of these arms, they have unique responsibilities.
I hate to interrupt you, Honourable Masharia. I think your mic is off, so I'll have that sorted, and then you start the question from the top. Let's try again now.
I was saying, can you hear me now?
Right, go on.
That the judiciary is one of the arms of the government. We have the executive, we have the legislature, and we have the judiciary. And each of these arms, they have specific roles to play as given by the Constitution. And their functions have been delegated by the Wanjiko because as we perform our responsibilities, those are the delegation powers that we've been given by the people of Kenya. So at some point, we have to, as much as we are promoting our independence by the institution, there is a point where we have to come together and engage in the interest of the Wanjiko. And as my sisters have said, we have the decisional independence. That is where each judicial officer is expected to make the decisions without fear, without favor. And there's the institutional independence, where we have to empower the judiciary financially. We already have the judiciary fund, but what is lacking as it now is the being a Kikuyu, some of these things.
Operationalization.
Yes, yeah, of the fund.
Your time is up.
Yeah, and as soon as we have that, we are going to have the institutional independence.
Asante sana. Honourable Teresa Nyangena.
Judicial independence and discretion is very dear to everyone, anywhere in the world. The judiciary is an institution that is very important to everybody, including the president. Judicial independence goes with everything, even the lawyers, the LSK must support it. So I'm engaged in sensitizing all of them on the plans of that. And that means I will also advocate for strengthening KMJ, which is a very important body in advocating for the welfare of magistrates and others.
Sorry, Honourable Nyangena, let's sort out your mic.
Judicial independence and discretion is everything in law. Any student, good student of law would know that without that, there's no need of going to law school. And so I know it should be promoted everywhere in academia, in practice, and in administrative agencies, including the executive, which is led by the president. That means good stakeholder engagement, advancing continuous education, strengthening KMJA, which is our body that advocates for our rights, promoting welfare of magistrates at all levels, opening courts to all Kenyans, promoting the Bangalore principles from which we draw our strength, and ensuring that every Kenyan feels comfortable in court by ensuring that the poor and the rich are all safeguarded. And the laws as they are made, I know the judiciary makes laws, so the top courts, the superior courts, must come up with the safeguards for that. As a student of constitutional law, I realize that the judiciary is the guardian of our constitution, and they must take constructive steps. These I mean, they must stop selfishness, they must come above, they must be above chapter 6, the concerns of chapter 6 themselves, starting from the Chief Justice to the lowest cadre. And that means that we must all own up to this responsibility, because we are all Kenyans and we are all here to be happy. We should not take the judiciary as the sacrificial lamb for all the mistakes that we make as Kenyans. So as first, let's be human beings and then follow the law, and the rule of law should be supreme for everyone, man and woman or another gender.
Thank you, Honourable Nyangena.
Thank you.
Your time is up. Honourable Evelyn Olwande, how will you safeguard judicial independence?
Thank you very much. My take is judicial independence is not the challenge, because judicial independence is a given. It is there in the principle of separation of powers. It is not the main problem. The challenge is handling the relationship of interdependence, because therein is where we interface with the other arms of government, and then we are put on the spot to defend our independence, but still be able to deliver our mandate, working with the other arms of government. So my take on this issue is to see how we can manage the relationship of interdependence with the other arms of government. My approach is, one, if you're talking about budgeting, already we are talking about interdependence. The judiciary fund is interdependent. So my approach is, one, to develop and maintain a healthy relationship between the three arms of government through periodic and constructive engagement between the judiciary and the other arms of government. The second thing I propose to introduce is to have dispute resolution mechanisms between the three arms of government. That has not been attempted as yet, and I think it is something we ought to give a try. The third approach that I have is that to be able to, judiciary should be able to leverage on public confidence, to be able to manage the relationship that it shares with the other arms of government. I'm proposing to revamp our public relations to boost public confidence, because that again makes it easier for us to be able to negotiate and leverage on that relationship when engaging with the other arms of government. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's move to the second question, and this one, let's focus on the issue of welfare of judicial officers. Each of you, as you're presenting your manifesto, you touched on areas of the welfare of judicial officers. I'd like to focus primarily on the issue of security of judicial officers in this question. There have been instances where judicial officers have faced threats and attacks in the course of duty. As a commissioner in the Judicial Service Commission, how will you address security for magistrates and qadis and mainstream it as an agenda in the Judicial Service Commission? So as a commissioner in the JSC, how will you address the issue of security for magistrates and qadis and mainstream it in the Judicial Service Commission? We will start with you, Honourable Delphina Alego.
Thank you so much, Eric. That's really true, and that has cut across with all my sisters here on the podium. It's a given that most of these reports and what we talk about and what most of us stand for here on the platform are already done. I say so because they are already, what is it called? The commissions which already set to go around the country and actually in a fact-finding mission, find out what are the iniquities about security for the magistrates and qadis. Having said that, I think the only thing that we need to do is to have the willpower to implement what these findings have been. We should not be reinventing the wheel, but we should now just sit down and implement what we need to do. And that is my take. Because the fact-finding mission is done, these reports are done, seated somewhere. What we need to do is just implement what the findings of these reports were. That's my take on that.
Thank you very much. Asante sana. Honourable Stella Atambo.
Thank you, Eric, for that question. Yes, indeed, security in terms of our welfare is a very thorny issue, and it's a long outstanding issue. Yes, it has been addressed, it has been discussed extensively, but nothing has come out of it. So as a JSC representative, I would, because all of us as judicial officers, magistrates and qadis have different circumstances or live in different circumstances, but we all do the same job. So as a judicial, as their representative, I would, one, push for firearm certificates for those who would want. Number two, I would push for a reasonable security allowance to any of the magistrates or qadis so that they are able to have their own arrangements in place, which arrangement is practical to each officer. Number three, I would also strengthen or push for strengthening of a communication directorate so that we have a spokesman who is able to give out a clear, maybe just a definition or just give some clarity on the rulings and judgments that we make so that the public are also well educated on the same. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Atambo. The same question goes to you, Honourable Florence Masharia. This is with regards to instances of judicial officers facing threats and attacks in the course of duty. As a commissioner in the JSC, how will you address security for magistrates and qadis and mainstream it as a topic of concern in the JSC?
It's true, as judicial officers, we are the people, especially in the magistracy and the qadis, we are the people that first come into contact with the members of public, especially in the criminal justice system. And the kind of cases the judicial officers handle, robbery with violence, terrorism, drug-related cases, they put the judicial officers into risk. And as our seniors, the High Court judges, they enjoy the security from armed police officers, but for us as judicial officers, there is none. As a representative, I would ensure I know it's not possible to have each and every magistrate having a police officer to guard. But as an institution, we can take responsibility over the security of our officers. One, by making sure that even at their places of work, they are secure, because most of these attacks happen at the courtroom areas. And two, that even back at home, we are safe and our families are safe. And how do we go about it? As my sister have said, one of the issues is to increase the security or to have security allowance. And by increasing that, it will enable a judicial officer maybe move from a less secure place to a better secure place. And then as an institution and with the activation of the Judiciary Fund, we can have funds just like any other government institution where they construct houses for their officers, and there we can have common security for all the members. Because what we care, it's not only about our security, but also the security of our families too.
Thank you very much. I'll pose the same question to you, Honourable Teresa Nyangena. And as you do that, sorry, before you come on, I'll request our team to kindly give our candidates some water. I know that, yes, it's already at that point when you feel that you'd like to hydrate. So Honourable Nyangena, please proceed. 2 minutes.
Thank you, sir. I look at security as a wide concept. It takes the direct part on the health side. It can also be the physical, the protection. We are always threatened directly or indirectly. This could be from your seniors, it could be from the public, it could be from your own colleagues. So security is an issue that goes to our life, our livelihood. And therefore, I will look at it widely, and I'll say that there is a need for security in terms of provision of VIP security. A magistrate is a very important person in society. There should be VIP treatment, just like other VIPs under Chapter 6. 2, there should be proper medical cover for our health, because the job of a magistrate, just like any other legal professional, is very draining, and therefore our health is always under attack in terms of security. The direct attacks at court are, you see the direct ones as the media, but there are even indirect ones, which we need support. And so I will form an office as a commissioner where every magistrate feeling threatened or attacked can contact me, and I give personal support through the commission and through the office of the Chief Justice. Because as a Chief Justice, that's an institution that gives leadership in terms of politics and law. And therefore, I must work closely with the Chief Justice of the day, and then the commission and my fellow magistrate under the umbrella of KMJA. So security really is not what you see, but there's much more. As you see us here, we are just undergoing disciplinary processes, even as we solve Kenyans' legal problems. And therefore, a magistrate ought to be protected even from suits, from legal suits, from attacks from your own employer. Those ones are unwarranted. How would even your own employer expect you to work? What we need to do is to know that JSC is not an employer. It's a regulatory body that is supposed to assist the country be able to come of age in terms of democracy, in terms of political space, in terms of public engagement, and therefore JSC duty is basically public.
Thank you. Your
Thank
time
you.
is up.
Thank you.
Honourable Evelyn Olwande.
Security for judicial officers is a very live issue. It is sad that while they're expected to sit in court and hear cases involving dangerous criminals, they do not have security, not only at home, but even while sitting in court. The orderlies we all see in court are not there for the judicial officers, no. The orderlies that are there for the prisoners who have been brought from remand. This is an issue which, while I was in the Executive Council, we filed a suit to litigate on that issue, and we were successful. We were able to get judgment. This issue falls squarely on the shoulders of the SRC. What do I intend to do about it? I intend to work with KMJA, which basically is the one that filed the suit on behalf of the members, to have that judgment enforced. I also intend to engage with the SRC, which is currently in the process of the third cycle of salary review, and they should be able to factor that in the review that they are currently doing. That basically is the approach I intend to take, because that is the mandate of the SRC, not necessarily the JSC. All we can, the role that the JSC can play is basically to facilitate and provide the necessary information and also engage with them to have that implemented. Thank you.
Asante sana. We will move to the next question. And as we do this, Would like to remind everybody who's watching in that you have an opportunity to ask a question to any of the candidates or all of the candidates. If you're watching us on ICJ Kenya Twitter handle or ICJ Kenya YouTube channel or on the Zoom link, please go to the comment section or the chat section and post your question. Our secretariat at the ICJ and KMJA are reviewing the questions and will be able to pick some questions and pose to the candidates. How would like you to frame your question? Any question that you'd like to ask a specific candidate, please indicate the specific candidate and then pose your question. And if you'd like us to recognize you by name, please also indicate the same. We're having a conversation with the 5 candidates to this year's election of the female magistrate representative to the Judicial Service Commission. With us is the Honourable Delphina Alego, Honourable Stella Atambo, Honourable Florence Masharia, Honourable Teresa Nyangena, and Honourable Evelyn Olwande. Moving to the next question, and I'll come back to the question regarding the welfare of judicial officers, but I want to go back to the issue of judicial independence. As you're all aware, there has been a standoff between the executive and the judiciary. This is after the failure of the president to appoint the 41 judges who had been appointed, who had been nominated by the JSC to the High Court and the Court of Appeal. As a JSC commissioner, and assuming that this matter is not resolved by the time you're sworn into office, what practical steps will you seek to resolve the standoff and also avoid such a standoff in the future? What practical steps would you take? I'm going to now move the questions now, instead of starting from the Honourable Delphina Alego, I'll start from the other side and start with you, Honourable Evelyn Olwande.
Thank you very much, Eric. The issue concerning the initially 41 judges, now 40, sadly, has been litigated upon. There's a judgment that has been pronounced by the court, and my take is that judgment ought to be complied with. Apart from that, as a commissioner, the job of the commission is basically to shortlist candidates, to interview them, and recommend their appointment to the superior courts. Once that is done, basically their job is done. The rest is in the court of the Chief Justice and the President of the Republic of Kenya. But I'm alive to the fact that this standoff is affecting access to justice to the courts that are expected to have their manpower increased by the judges who are awaiting appointment. So I cannot say that it is not the business of the JSC to look into that, because there's an impediment, it's an impediment to access to justice. So my proposal here is to have to put in place a dispute resolution mechanism that will help mediate on this dispute. I would propose the establishment of a committee of eminent persons who can be able to mediate between the judiciary and the executive on the appointment of these judges. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Shuffling this particular round, so I'll come to you, Honourable Florence Masharia.
As a JSC commissioner, I would be a strong believer of dialogue, because the standoff, I'm sure there's a certain breakdown between the executive and the judiciary. And this is where, as the interested party, and I'm saying interested party because we have our colleagues who are appointed as judges, 4 of them, and also even the other judges that are coming in to join the judiciary, they also become our colleagues. And I say, we need this dialogue where the CJ or the head of the judiciary and the president would sit down. And if they need any mediator, we have the former CJ. I'm not sure if the office of the former CJ has been established where they can mediate. But one of the things that we need to realize is that whatever the standoff, it's the responsibility or the constitutional responsibility of the president to appoint these judges. And he cannot say that he was never represented, because we have the AG, we have the representative from the Public Service Commission, we have the 2 nominees or the 2 commissioners representing the public, the male and the female. So when the judiciary came up with these names, the president was well represented in that. And when a decision is made by the JSC, it's a collective responsibility. It cannot be said that some commissioners decided this or the other commissioners decided this. And that is why we need to sit down, or the commissioners need to have a sit down and check where did we go wrong, or go back to the basics. Because there are people out there who don't have jobs. There are people who resigned from their jobs. They are the chief magistrates. They are waiting to be elevated to the High Court, and they are creating a backlog, or they are creating jam where we cannot ascend to the chief magistrate level because there are those slots that need to be taken up by the senior principal magistrates, and we still have our
Thank
people.
you.
So as a commissioner, I would be—
Time is up.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Honorable Teresa Busibori Nyangana.
Thank you. That's a very thorny issue, and it is a legal issue. The JSC is well constituted, and the decision they made is, I would say, is legal, and the law ought to be obeyed, the rule of law. Practically, I would endeavor to sensitize and engage in constructive stakeholder engagement that is honest and genuine, that carries the interest of Kenyans of all walks of life. And that means that the president and the head of the judiciary must all stand above board and promote interest of justice. That issue has negatively affected the nominees. It has affected Kenyans at large. It has also affected the face of the judiciary, which is important. If the public loses confidence in the judiciary, basically then it means that we will go to the rule of the jungle, which will not be good for anyone, including the forces, or what we call the security department. It's therefore good that we promote rule of law for everyone. That means that Parliament must promote rule of law, the President must, the judiciary too must, and Kenyans must promote rule of law. So we should find where the rain started beating us, and we find a common ground, which can bring the face of the country as a common nation. That means judges must start appearing as faces of unity, faces of rule of law, and the President knows that better than anybody else, because the judiciary is a body that has been embodied since time immemorial, and it's a body that exists everywhere in the world. And therefore, it's not a body that we can afford to do without. We will need a goodwill of everyone, and political leaders especially must come forth with a solution that favors everyone. Judges have families, they have relatives. Thank you.
Thank you. The time is up. We'll take just a moment so that you can get your water, so we can continue with this. So we've tackled a number of questions. We've looked at the independence of the judiciary. We've looked at welfare of judges, and we'll come back to some questions on welfare, not of judges, but of judicial officers. We'll look at, we have looked at the standoff that we see between the judiciary and the executive. And as we continue with this, we are also requesting anybody who is watching this show and would like to ask a question to any of the candidates or all the candidates, please go to the chat section on Zoom, or go to the comment section on Twitter and on YouTube and post your question. Indicate the candidate to whom you'd like the question to be directed, indicate the question, and if you'd like us to mention who you are, we'll also do the same. Our members of the Secretariat from ICJ Kenya and KMJA are reviewing the questions, and they will pass on the questions to me, and I'll pose the questions to the candidates. So the question on the floor right now is with regards to the standoff over the appointment of 40 judges to the High Court and Court of Appeal. As a member of the JSC, and assuming that this matter is not resolved by the time you're sworn in into the JSC, what practical steps would you take to resolve the standoff and avoid such in the future? The question now comes to you, Dolphina Alego, Honourable Senior Principal Magistrate from Kakamega.
Thank you so much, Eric. I'd want to make an afternoon banter. When you're courting a girl, and there's so many boys who are looking for this one particular girl, you'll really try as much as possible to get around to this girl. I get back to my question, it's for everybody to think about it. Emotional intelligence. There's a judgment which is out. It is there to be implemented. The question is, or the cue is, how do you implement this judgment? If you ask me, it's about ego. Everybody feels that I am right, you are wrong. Get back to conflict resolution. How do you and how do you put in conflict resolution with the standoff? It is not good for anybody in this country. We all know it. Even all the parties involved knows very well that this is not a good standoff for either party. The best thing is emotional intelligence. Get how best to get and circumvent this problem. Nobody is ever too big to bring down ego. It is the how you demystify this thorn in the house, the big elephant in the house. For my take would be emotional intelligence, and if need be, AI. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the question finally comes to you, Honourable Stella Atambo.
Thank you, Eric. Allow me to say this on this issue. As a chartered mediator, litigation and judgments is not the way to go. We have three arms of the government that work for the good of Wanjiko. And I think it's pretty obvious what each arm of the government should be doing. Independence also brings about interdependence. Collaboration is the key for me. If you ask me, as a JSC representative, if this standoff is not addressed or resolved soon, we're going into a crisis. Why? It is important for us to know that relationships preserved go a long way. My sister has just talked about emotional intelligence. My pillar number 3 on my manifesto talks about internal disputes resolution mechanism. So we ask ourselves, how did we get here in the first place? Why are the three arms of government not talking to each other, with each other, and telling each other what ordinarily ought to happen? As a representative, I would seek to negotiate, collaborate with the other arms of government. And remember, we know that the three are equal. The three are independent. But then it is also good to know that when each wants something from the other, there must be collaboration. There must be negotiations. There must be networking. There must be some sort of agreement, because if we go the litigation and judgment way, then we are hurting Wanjiko. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's now move to questions that are coming from members of the audience. And I'll start with this one that goes to all of you from Charles Kutwa. There is a circular from the Judicial Service Commission on incremental credits for those with master's degrees. You are aware that most colleagues have been left out. What do you intend to do as a commissioner to address this matter? You're aware there's a circular from the Judicial Service Commission on incremental credits for those with master's degrees. And you're also aware that most colleagues have been left out. As a commissioner in the JSC, what do you intend to do to address this matter? I will start with you, Honourable Florence Masharia.
I'm one of the judicial officers with a master's degree, and I'm yet to receive my credits. Reasons being, we submitted our papers to the Directorate of HR, and they are to communicate to our universities where we went to school. And those universities, at times, they failed us. But I know there are other mechanisms, because if you want to certify that indeed this JO went for his master's or her master's degree, there are other ways other than just waiting for the university to confirm. Because if you have a law degree, if you have the master's degree and you've presented it, there are ways where you can check through the scanning of the code. And being one of the persons that have interest in that area, I will be in the forefront to make sure that all those who have master's degree, all those who have PhDs, they have their credit, because it's our right, so to speak.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Same question, Honourable Evelyn Olwande.
Thank you very much, Eric. I think I understand that issue, because it's an issue I've encountered before. The challenge here is that that provision, the circular, was put in place when some of our colleagues already had masters, and it is made applicable prospectively, not retrospectively. So that is those who acquire masters subsequent to the circular that are given the credits. What I will do about that is to make a case to support those who already have masters, because the rationale behind paying the, or rather giving the incremental credits, is because the institution is going to benefit from your enhanced skill now that you have enhanced qualifications. And so the fact that I already acquired a master's before that does not mean that the institution is not benefiting. And for that reason, I ought to be recognized and also be given credit like the rest of the members who subsequently get the master's. So that is the case I will make for it in the commission and lobby to have that position supported. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Some question now also goes to Honourable Teresa Nyangena.
Thank you, sir. That's a position very dear to my heart. Many of us have been denied the opportunity to acquire a master's degree, even though we really wanted to. Personally, I started my LLM in UON in 2013. At the same time, I was facing the vetting board. At the same time, there were haphazard transfers that could not allow me to achieve that degree. Although I finished classwork within a record of 9 months, I could not do my research. I could not conclude due to the conditions obtaining in the country. And because of that, I applied to the UK that allowed me to do a scholarship catered by them. Again, due to our working conditions, I could not afford to go for that master's. So it's not really that masters do not want to acquire these degrees, but the employer has not offered opportunity that is fair or equal to all. And therefore, in as much as I would support that idea, I would also say that JSC should be sensitive to all of us who may not have, and afford us an opportunity to go for those studies. Studies should basically be for everyone. They should be encouraged and supported, paid for. And also the family supported as you go away to study. And I do not think there's anyone who I want to study, but if there be, they must be having their reasons. But acquisition of further education should have been an agenda promoted by JSC itself in the first place. So I don't think anyone should be treated differently. Differential treatment on magistrates basically affects the public. We should look at what is the purpose of a magistrate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Some question comes to the Honourable Delphina Lego, and this is from Charles Kutua. There's a circular from the JSC on incremental credits for those with master's degrees. As you're aware, most colleagues have been left out. What do you intend to do as a JSC commissioner?
I'm very careful to use the word I, because as one commissioner, I cannot manage to do these things. One of my agendas was that we need to have partnerships in all that we do and how to do teamwork. Teamwork for me is big and it's huge. What I'll say about this, you have to, as a person, as a commissioner, if I'm there, and I pray that I would be, is that you need to lobby all the commissioners to see that it is a good thing to have people have career progressions. Going to school is a good thing. I think without a community with the people who've not gone to school, not that I have anything against that, but going to school and even enhancing your knowledge makes you think in diversity. Diversity is huge again. And what I'll say again, just the way I said before about the many committees that have done all this data and all that, the question is, what are we doing with the data that we found out? Because there are committees which have gone out and collected data to know that there are people who have done their master's degree. The fact is, once you've done that, what do you do next? Data is there with us. I will still reiterate that the main thing with the many issues that are being brought out here is the implementation of the findings and the recommendations of these committees. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you very much. And finally, Honourable Atambo.
Thank you, Eric. I will say this. We need somebody to tell our story at the commission. We need somebody to tell our story in the sense of training. When I have gone for further studies, for further training, what value am I bringing on board? This is addressed by my pillar number 4 on my manifesto, which talks about improved judicial culture and welfare, whereby we learn to appreciate the good, we learn to reward. I know as magistrates and cadis, we are not used to being rewarded. This is very rare and it never even comes. This is why I am saying, as Stella Atambo, there should be a culture change. We need to learn to reward. And so as a representative, I would come up maybe with a suggestion on an advisory council, especially on matters training, further studies for magistrates and cadis. And this council will be able to advise on the way forward. And then as a representative, I would lobby, I would persuade, I would negotiate with my mediation skills with the rest of my commissioners and have something in place. Thank you.
Thank you very much. More and more questions coming from those who are following this debate online. This next question also goes to all of you, and the first person to take it will be you, Honourable Stella Atambo. What is your take on the change of gender of the KMJA representative to the JSC? What is your take on the change of gender of the KMJA representative to the Judicial Service Commission?
Thank you, Eric, for that. That is a welcome change if it happens, because again, as I said, we need someone to tell our story. We are 543, about that number, magistrates and cadis. We have one representative at the commission. Maybe it's a high time. We thought about not even just one, but two of both gender, male and female, so that then our representation there is more effective. Thank you. That's my take.
Thank you very much. Honourable Nyangena. What is your take on the change of gender of the KMJA representative to the JSC?
Personally, gender, right now we are just talking of equality. Gender would not be really the real issue. It's just a matter of representation. So gender, to me, men, women, we are almost at a time when we should speak at same par. So changing gender is not the big deal. The deal is about issues being put forward. They should all be all inclusive. They should represent humanity. And when I talk of humanity, I mean that now we are looking at everyone. Sometimes you may get transgender. So what we are saying is that let us start looking at human beings. Gender, yes, we'll talk about them, but it won't be the big picture. The big picture will be, what are these issues? How are they affecting us? Whether you're a woman or a man, how are you presenting them? How are you projecting them? Are you fair? Are you reasonable? Are you seeing the rule of law? Are you seeing policies that promote society? Is it about transformation? Is it about leadership that goes with the current affairs in society? And so it should be about promotion of law, development of law, which in my view should go across all sectors. And law as a field cuts across everywhere. And this is why even the president, any president in the world must have an attorney general. So lawyers should start taking their space regardless of gender and age.
Thank you very much. Honourable Dolphine Alego, what's your take?
Thank you so much, Eric. A quick one on that, on a rejoinder, and what I've had is that one of my key pillars in my agenda was servant leadership. And when I say that, it is a question coming from the membership that we need a change in the gender. That you have to listen, and it is how do you run with it. My key point to this is that we let it be, we let it discuss it, and then doing things the same way will always get us with the same results. Let's try the other thing. It's all about diversity. That's my take.
Thank you very much. What's your take, Honourable Evelyn Olwande?
Thank you very much, Eric. I think the gender issue is a live issue. We seem to be stuck in a sort of rut, so that we have a female representative from the magistracy and a male representative from the High Court. That is an issue that has caused a lot of discomfort amongst the membership, and I think it's an issue that needs to be resolved. So what I intend to do is basically, and I've captured that in the manifesto that I developed with members, I am committed to addressing this gender issue. But I know it is not an issue I ought to be resolving as an individual. It's an issue that I have to consult with all the stakeholders, majorly the members of the Association of KMJA, to see if we can come up with a system that will ensure that there's gender parity and there's exchange of gender in the two positions from the High Court and the magistrates. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And finally, Honourable Masharia.
the issue of gender can be dealt with in two ways. One, we must come alive to the fact that this is constitutional. The Constitution of Kenya has said that the Association of Magistrates and Judges will be represented by a male and a female representative. Currently, we have the male from the High Court and the female from the Magistrates Court. And considering our numbers, because if you look at the Supreme Court, the membership is represented by one. The Court of Appeal is represented by one. Judges, the magistrates and the caddies, we are over 500, almost 600, and we have only one representative. One way of doing it is to have the constitution amended so that we can increase the membership, so that we can have either two male and female from the magistracy level and male and female from the High Court. The other way of dealing with it is, as I'm doing my campaigns, I told the people that in my term, because I'm going to serve for only one term, in my one term, I'm also willing to do a lesser period so that as at the term of the male representative, who is the High Court judge, is ending, I would be willing to step down because it's not about me, it's about the institution. And I believe we have qualified male judicial officers who can do a great work as much as we can do as the female representatives.
Thank you very much, Honourable Masharia. Next question, also coming from the audience, comes from Rita Amwai, and it goes to all of you. Only one of you will be elected to this position in the JSC. Each of you has given us a clear and very well put out manifesto. In the JSC, you'll have only one vote. So how do you plan to achieve all what you've put in your manifesto? How do you plan to achieve all that you've put in your manifesto, bearing in mind that you only have one vote in the Judicial Service Commission? Let's start with you, Honourable Delphina Alego.
Thank you so much, Eric, for that, and thank you for the present of that the question. It's very true. I'm very careful to use the word I, because I cannot do it alone. The commission has 11 members, and in the 11 members, that's why it's a commission. It is not about me or I, Delphina Alego. It is about how all of us are able to work. As I go back to my agenda, network is key, lobbying is key, partnerships are key. And you have to know how the commission works before you implement all these issues that we're talking about. The way I intend to do it, I'll say I, because I think when we go in, any of us will be there, maybe by come next week. The thing is, how do you network with other commissions on a SWOT analysis? What are the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats amongst your other commissioners? In that, you're able to know and cut across in who you can talk to so that you lobby this one commissioner to come to your side. And in against 6, against 5, I think you'll carry the order of the day. You also have to be smart, specific, and do something which is measurable. And you also have to have a way of being very strategic in how you engage with the other commissioners. It's about teamwork, it's about lobbying, it's about partnership. On me, I as a person cannot do it, and that is actually impossible. I get back to my hashtag, servant leadership.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Same question goes to you, Honourable Stella Atambo.
Thank you, Eric. Indeed, it is true that I will only be one vote, but I am a diplomat. I am a trained mediator. I am charismatic. I have the ability to negotiate. I know how to collaborate. Before I declared my candidature, I consulted, I listened, and I decided to declare. I possess emotional intelligence and social intelligence. What do I mean by this, and why do I need this? Because it will be about lobbying my fellow commissioners. It will be about teamwork. That emotional intelligence would tell me when to retreat and live to fight another day. It would tell me when to negotiate, when to go out there and collaborate, network, and when to come back and put back my agenda on the table. So, as a representative With all these qualities on board, I would be best placed to tell our story as it is, as magistrates and cadis. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Some question goes to you, Honourable Florence Masharia.
It's true that I'll only represent one vote in the commission of 11 members. I consider myself as a mobilizer. I will be able to mobilize my fellow commissioners to see the agenda from my own perspective. And considering that the JSC, the commissioners, they represent various interests. We have the judiciary commissioners or the internal commissioners, and we have the non-judiciary commissioners or the external commissioners. Each and every commissioner is representing a different interest. So for you as a magistrate representative and the cadis representative, I need to influence and mobilize. And this seat does not need a politician. It needs someone who is going to deal with things in a diplomatic way. It needs a representative who is full of integrity, because you must earn respect from your fellow commissioners so that they can be able to listen to you. And I also believe in mobilizing, because some of these things that we are saying we are going to do, we need external influence or external partnership. And how are you going to do about it? If it's about increasing the establishment, we need extra funding. How are you going to get extra funding? You need to mobilize even the members of parliament. And that is why you don't just limit yourself to the Judicial Service Commission. You need also to go out and reach out to the people that are going to assist you. And that is what I'm going to do if elected as a representative.
Thank you very much. I pose the same question to Honourable Nyangena.
Thank you, sir. As a leader, I believe that I don't lead alone. I must understand my flock, my constituency. In that manner, the first thing is to make KMJ be operative, be strong. And by this, I mean they should be supported, not attacked. They should be understood, and they should be sort of appreciated. And that I mean every magistrate, every caddy must be involved in decision-making at the grassroots level, because they contribute every month to a body. That body ought to be effective. That means they will have a level of leadership first, and I will come in as a second layer. And that brings in governance structures. You don't become the only voice of reason. You share ideas. And that's where we even bring in the gender issues, disability issues, age, you know. And now the other thing we have to do is that when they do these things, they should also document them. So I'll be asking for memoranda time and again, asking how much they're faring, what concerns do they have, and how can I, as a commissioner, advocate them before all stakeholders that matter. But first of all, the Chief Justice, because he's the head of the judiciary, and he holds that office on the account of Kenyans. Secondly, the commission. The JS Commission is extremely powerful, and it ranks one or first before other commissions, because IBC has to come under the judiciary, Parliamentary Commission has to come under the judiciary. Now we are bringing in the health, wherever, the Teachers Commission, all those are independent. The SRC, in as much as it is going to look into our our remuneration, it is under the JSC because it's under the courts. The JSC controls the systems of courts. It controls administration of justice. So what is justice? How does the JSC help in justice? Because the president himself is a figure of justice. He is actually the head of state, and state is the three arms of government.
Thank you.
So I will promote rule of law and administration of justice.
Asante sana. Some question comes to you, Honorable Evelyn Olonde. You have one vote in the JSC. You have given us a manifesto that is pretty ambitious. How do you hope to use your one vote to make the changes that you seek to bring?
Thank you for that question. The commission is a body corporate comprising members that represent different constituents. Decisions are often made by vote. But the beauty of it all is that each commissioner has one vote. None has more. And that makes my one vote a very powerful vote, because there'll always come a time when each will need the other to support the agenda. Apart from that, I have four things going for me. One, I have served in a representative position representing my colleagues in the KMJA. I have a deep understanding of the issues that plague our members. That understanding will enable me to ably articulate those issues with my colleagues in the commission. Two, I disagree with you. I think I have a very practical and very realistic manifesto developed by members. There's nothing there that I see anyone getting violently opposed to. It should be easy to implement. Three, serving in the Executive Council, I had very many opportunities to engage with the members in the commission. We've been able to establish a rapport. So for me, it will be easy to just hit the ground running. And lastly, my own personal qualities. I am persuasive. I'm able to build consensus, something I have actually employed in the EC where I was serving before I retired. And this will help me to network with the rest of the members to support the agenda that I will have. So I am confident I have what it takes to be able to implement what we have put into the manifesto. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable candidates, it's important for me to recognize and acknowledge that we have very many viewers who are following this debate this afternoon on all the platforms that we are streaming, on Zoom, on Twitter at ICJ Kenya, on the ICJ Kenya YouTube channel as well. We have participants on YouTube from the Marara Law Courts, the Kilifi Law Courts, Tana River, and it's important to acknowledge all of them. So I'm going to pick one of the questions that's coming in from YouTube, and this is from Hassan Omar, which also is similar to a question that was posed by one of the viewers as well, is Stephen Sayani. And this is with regards to proposals in the Building Bridges Initiative report and also contained in the Constitution Amendment Bill. And this is with regards to the position of the Judiciary Ombudsman. The BBI is proposing introduction and is very keen on this position of the Judiciary Ombudsman. What does it mean? What is your position on this? And what does it mean about the Judicial Service Commission? Is it leaving the JSC? Is it exposing the JSC? The JSC has been unable, for example, to come up with a position of the Ombudsman. What is your position? What's your take on the issue of the Judiciary Ombudsman? And how does it paint the position of the Judicial Service Commission? I'm going to start this question with you, Honourable Delphina Alego.
Thank you so much, Eric, and thank you for the person who was thrown in this pan in the works about the Judicial Ombudsman. One thing that I'll reiterate is that we already have a Judicial Ombudsman. The key thing for me in the BBI is to ask, is it working? And if it's working, why do we have to do it again? If it is something that we need to enhance our capability and to strengthen the Judiciary Ombudsman, so be it. I think bringing in a new concept about the whole thing again is just reinventing. It's not the most immediate thing that we need in the judiciary. If you ask me, even amongst colleagues, there's so many questions people are asking, do we really need it? And as a commissioner, what I would say is listen and be a keen listener to what your team members are saying. We already have a Judiciary Ombudsman. The question is it working? And if it's not working, how better do we make the office work? It's an office, the person who is there can come with better ideologies, and the people who are part and parcel in response to this office can actually bring in, on a SWOT analysis, smart analysis, we can have this office be empowered. That's my take, Eric.
Thank you very much. Honourable Stella Atambo.
Thank you, Eric. Yes, we have an ombudsman. And yes, our ombudsman is doing his work or her work or their work. We have a task force that was appointed in the judiciary to look into those recommendations by the BBI report, to look into the suggestions. And we made recommendations, especially on the issue of the ombudsman. And these were not taken up, but this is my take on the same. What we need is revamping our ombudsman as it is now, so that then they are able to work, maybe to finance more, maybe just to give them more than what they have now to be able to work. But again, allow me to say this. The disciplinary process, the complaints processing process the complaints, the way the complaints against magistrates and cadis are processed is so painful. It is such a painful process. We have an ombudsman in place. We need to revamp the ombudsman, give maybe an elaborate structure for our current ombudsman, because this then, if we have the ombudsman as recommended or suggested or proposed by the BBI, there would be a bit of conflict of the mandate of JSC, because again, we are looking at processing and handling of complaints against judicial officer. Like my sister has said, we probably need to talk more and see what is not working or working with the current ombudsman that we have.
Thank you. I'll pose the same question to Honourable Florence Masharia.
The issue of the ombudsman and the BBI is an area that needs more dialogue. We need to interrogate the issue. First of all, we need to interrogate our disciplinary system under the JSC. Do we see it as a fair process as judicial officers? And also, in addition to that, if we bring in an ombudsperson, who is the appointing authority? The ombudsperson will be appointed by the executive. Whose interest will he be bringing? There's that debate going on that by the appointment or by the appointment of the ombudsperson, it might water down the judicial independence in terms of decision making. Because as a judicial officer, you'll be looking at your shoulders and saying, if I make this decision that may not make a particular function happy, is it going to be turned into a disciplinary process? So that is an area that we need to dialogue. And as the KMJA said, we nominated our colleagues so that they can go and interrogate it further. So we can, as at this stage, we can have a final say on the issue of the ombudsperson.
Thank you very much. Honourable Teresa Nyangena.
Thank you very much. Indeed, the Office of an Ombudsman exists within the judiciary. However, there were gaps, in my view, from what I've experienced. There is need to have an independent ombudsman within the judiciary, recruited by the JSC itself, and that ombudsman should handle complaints without interference from anyone. Due to these gaps, I think politicians have found it fit to now infiltrate the institution and take advantage of those gaps. Those gaps will not help anyone, because as a magistrate in my daily work, I've never seen where I must be controlled to make a decision. I think it's about interpreting the law and applying the law. That's the work of a magistrate. We as Kenyans, we have our responsibility wherever we are. As an MP, you have your responsibility with your people. As a father in your family, you have your responsibility with your family. Similarly, everybody has a responsibility. But this belief of Kenyans imagining that the judiciary will solve all their problems is what is putting this country into what we are going through. And politicians should know there's a difference between politics and law. There's a difference between society and the law. Therefore, as a magistrate, I imagine that my work should be interpreting the law and applying the law.
Thank you.
And there are levels of appeal, and therefore we should encourage Kenyans to solve their issues within their levels as well, and reduce backlog in courts.
Asante sana. Honourable Evelyn Olwande.
Thank you very much. Indeed, the judiciary has an existing ombudsman office. And indeed, after the BBI report was publicized, we put together a task force to look into the issue and to come up with recommendations on how best we can handle that issue. But apart from that, under Article 172, sub-Article 1C, the JSC is the one mandated to handle the disciplinary process for members of the judiciary. In keeping with that, we also have other commissions. We have the Teacher Service Commission, we have the Public Service Commission, we have the Powers and Privileges Committee in Parliament that basically has internal mechanisms for handling disciplinary issues. It is not clear why judiciary is the only one singled out for external, let me not call it interference, but external participation in the handling of the disciplinary process. Secondly, I don't think it is healthy to have two centers of power in dealing with the disciplinary process. By the time we will be having an ombudsman sitting as a commissioner in the JSC, what is the mandate of the JSC when it comes to the issue of discipline? Where will we draw the line? There's likely to be conflict, and we are going to have an untidy mess in that scenario. Again, I agree with my sister, Honourable Florence Masharia, that being an appointee of the executive, there is the likely effect of watering down the independence of the institution. Much as I'm alive to the fact that we have a task force already looking into that matter, my take would be that under Article 172, Sub-Article 1C, the JSC is mandated to create units that can help it, can assist it in discharging its mandate. My take would be to have the Office of the Ombudsman working under the JSC and properly empowered and capacitated to be able to handle complaints from the highest office in the institution to the junior-most office in the institution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable candidates, thank you very much for your adherence, especially to time this afternoon. We have had very many questions coming in from the people who are watching this live stream on Zoom, on YouTube, and on Twitter. Because of time constraints, we're only going to have one more question. And this question has been sent in by somebody who's following the conversation and sent a chat message to our Zoom platform. This is with regards to what we now see in almost all spheres of our society. When people are seeking elected positions, it has become a very costly affair. And the same has appeared in this particular campaign. It costs money to finance a campaign, and I'm going to read this comment and question verbatim. As we have seen with all the candidates here, interconnected to the independence of the judiciary, would the candidates be candid on how each financed her campaign, or is the likely winner into the JSC going to be a gatekeeper into the judiciary at the behest of her funders? You get the question. It's clearly been a very expensive campaign for you. Just looking at the independence of the judiciary, would you, as a candidate, be candid enough to tell us how you financed your campaign? Or are we likely to have a scenario where, when you join the JSC, you're likely to be a gatekeeper for those who financed you? I'm going to start this question to you, Honorable Teresa Nyangena.
Thank you, sir. Actually, campaigns have become extremely expensive, and that's why the judiciary has been put at the center of attack. Because once you fail in your campaign, you think the judiciary will now give you the ticket or the post. I funded my campaign using my salary, and I did extremely simple and direct. I just traveled to the courts and said hi to my colleagues, who most of them are well known to me. And I applied for a loan from the judiciary through my salary account, which was approved. And this was way back in May, June. I started that process, and I realized that I had been listed at the CRB. So the struggle of removing my name from CRB so that that loan could go through went back and forth from the bank to my employer. And finally, that loan was not availed to me. And I believe it wasn't a good experience. My campaigns have not run the way I would have expected, but I'm praying that they approve that loan even now. It's because we still have time, and I run and continue meeting my colleagues. And I would urge the JSC or the judiciary that this exercise ought to be a public exercise, supported by public finance, and made open and transparent for the sake of Kenyans, because those offices do not belong to us, and we don't expect to live in those offices forever. Personally, I would want to leave a legacy for the incoming magistrates, so that the career as a magistrate is attractive and friendly, and that I do not to go run around for money so that I can buy votes or I can persuade anyone using money.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Honorable Florence Masharia, would you be candid and transparent to declare the source of your campaign financing?
For my campaigns, I did it at the most minimal costs. And when I say the most minimal costs, I would do the going round alone using my vehicle. And most of my funding was coming from my fellow colleagues. because they are the people who told me, and based on my past as a leader, they said you're fit to come and represent us in the JSC Commission. And they've been funding, and in terms of costs, apart from the personal cost, it goes to the transport and fueling a vehicle. As a senior principal magistrate, I can afford that. And when it goes to the cost of food, most of the places I would go, my colleagues would meet the bills. Very few instances that I've had to pay the bills from my pocket. But fast forward, this is a constitutional responsibility where we are to elect our representatives, and the judiciary should take up the matter and be budgeting for it and know that at a particular time we'll be having elections, and we need to bring these judicial officers to the voting venue so that when they budget, they'll be paying that judicial officer to move from the station to the voting area and also provide for accommodation so that it doesn't have to go back to the candidate where the candidate shall be looking for money to bring the people to the voting venue. And fast forward, I'm going to tell my colleagues, I've got no baggages. If you elect me as your commissioner, I have got no debts to pay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Your time is up. Thank you very much. Same question I'd like to pose to you, Honourable Evelyn Olwande.
Thank you very much, Eric, for that question, and whoever asked the question. I think campaigns need not be expensive, and especially when you're campaigning to distinguished people like judicial officers. It's basically about issues. Yes, you will need finances to move you here and there. You will need finances maybe to get a venue like this where you can meet with members and articulate issues, but it need not be expensive. Personally, I have not encountered a situation where I had to spend big money for the election. To begin with, I made this decision to vie for this position way back in 2019, and I have been saving because I knew to some extent I will need funding. I also reached out to colleagues. There are colleagues who believe in my cause, in the vision of a JSC that cares. And because of that, they've been gracious enough to help facilitate my campaign. I have had occasion when I have called colleagues to a venue, we've sat down, we've had lunch or we've had tea, and the tab is picked by the members present. I've had occasions where a colleague would send me money to fuel the car I'm using to move around. So my campaign basically has been about my colleagues, being run by my colleagues, for my colleagues. I have not had a big challenge or felt the need to have any big money. I've been very frugal in my campaign. Most of the time I travel alone. Occasionally I travel with 1 or 2 people. That makes it very cheap. And even in terms of whatever we incur, the venues we meet, they have been reasonably priced. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Olwande. What about you, Honourable Stella Atambo?
Thank you, Eric. Yes, indeed, campaigns can be very costly. And allow me to say this. Among my colleagues and my sisters here, I was the last to declare my candidature. Among other things, as I said earlier, that I took time to consult and talk to friends and family and my spouse. I also took time to raise funds for the same because I was alive to the fact that I had to move from one station to another, and our courts are in every corner of this country, and our colleagues serve there. So one, I took a circle loan, Sharia Circle, to finance the same. 2, we sat down as family and we raised some funds. 3, there are colleagues who believe in my candidature. There are colleagues who would easily say from point A to point B, Stella, I will give you 5,000 to fuel your vehicle. 4, I got a vehicle from a cousin brother, and this is the vehicle I have fueled and I have been moving around with. So yes, this is very costly, but I had planned for it and I took my time to work on the same. And I would not say it's been that costly because I have had friends, colleagues by my side to help me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honourable Delphina Alego.
A very good question that has been put across to all of us, but I will say this. If I had visitors coming to my house, I would basically cook for them. Because I was not able to cook for all the visitors that I was going to see in all the court stations, I had to go to them. And I would still say I did it the same way. What I do in my house is what I did outside there. I would also say this, we are all professionals and we're seeing what is happening. I would not add or re-emphasize on that. What I'd say about my campaigns, I have a very strong support family system. They were there for me, they've been there for me, they've watched me. I have a very strong support system of my friends and my alumni. That's one thing that I would really re-emphasize. Places that you go to, please keep tags. That will take you a long way. So I have a very strong alumni system, my family system, friends that I went to school with, friends that I keep today. My campaigns have been authentic, realistic, and practical. And God has helped me to this edge.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, honorable candidates, and for that declaration as well. What I've heard you say is that you are basically not beholden to anyone in this campaign. If you get elected into the position, you will not be a gatekeeper for anyone. You won't be carrying favors for anyone or even advancing any nefarious agenda on behalf of any quarters. That the membership shall hold you to account for. I'd like now to move to the final segment of this afternoon's debate. And this is where we give each one of you a moment to make your final pitch. The elections are set to take place this Saturday. One of you will be elected to the Judicial Service Commission. And this is your opportunity then to speak to the membership, to speak to the electorate, and to speak to the country and say what you'd like to do should you get elected to the Judicial Service Commission. I want to start off from my extreme left, and then we shall end on my extreme right, because we started the other way around. So this time, we'd like to give 2.5 minutes to the Honourable Evelyn Olwande.
Thank you very much, Eric. To begin with, I want to thank all my colleagues for entrusting me with leadership. As I had mentioned earlier, I am the immediate outgoing vice president of the KMJA. I don't take it lightly, but my colleagues trusted me enough to bestow upon me that responsibility. Above all, I want to say I have not let you down. I have been able to deliver for us quite a number of things that I've been able to achieve, both as a member of the KMJA Executive Council, also as a member or as a person on my own without any leadership position. I have shared with you the experiences and the achievements that I have made. I am a visionary, I am courageous, I am compassionate, and I am responsive. Above all, I care. I have what it takes to deliver for us our aspirations and our ideals in the JSC. Apart from that, I wish to call upon our members to vote on the 5th of December with their conscience. For magistrates and cadis, this is going to be a very crucial election because the representative we are going to elect this time, we are the only ones electing that representative, and essentially, she is the only one who is going to represent our interests at the JSC. Let's get someone who has demonstrated that they are committed to our cause. Let's get someone who has demonstrated that the only interest they have in their heart to serve is the interest of judicial officers who are bestowing upon her that trust. Let us vote with our conscience. Let us vote for us. Let us do ourselves justice and vote for the right person. And I'm telling you, my brothers and sisters, the right person is standing right before you right now. It is me, Evelyn Olwande. I have demonstrated what I can do, and I am telling you, I'm urging you, I can do even better in a more influential position in the JSC, where I'll be sitting in the boardroom, where the decisions that directly affect us are made. Thank you. God bless you. God bless the Judiciary of Kenya. #IfCares.
Thank you very much, Honourable Olwande. Honourable Teresa Busudori Nyangena.
Thank you, sir. I said as a girl, I've always been a leader, right from my primary school, Commonwealth Bungoma Town, Limuru Girls, Kiambu, Moi University, Eldoret. I led the students in a small faculty of law, which eventually became a big school. I've been a leader in everything I do. Currently, I sit in many groups where I offer leadership under the Probation Department, Ministry of Interior. I sit in the Board of Management, University of School of Nairobi, Moi Girls Kibera, and most community activities I've been engaged in. I'll soon be issuing out my CV. In all these, I've learned that in everything I do, I must be a leader. I must care for every interest. And as a provider of justice, as a law student, I know law is a matter of interest. You must defend and protect. You must articulate interest in the best way possible that is clear that everyone would get, including our leaders in other sectors. Therefore, my immediate act will be to establish an office, which I urge the judiciary to support, which will be the Magistrates Commissioner's Office, where members can meet me. I know there's barrier in many ways in the corridors of justice. I know that even as colleagues, we have our own challenges in terms of unhealthy competition, unfair mistreatment, ethnicity is a factor, gender issues is a factor, gender disparity is a factor, disability issues are a factor, and even payment, it's not clear on how we earn our payment. Our payroll is in question, it needs to be cleansed up. So as a commissioner, I will want to rise above ethnicity. I want to promote good principles of governance, inclusivity, justice for all, the poor, the rich alike, and the civil societies should be promoted to keep us on check. The Law Society of Kenya is a very integral part in administration of justice. I'll urge them to collaborate wisely. I've worked for them. I've received certificates of appreciation for that. I know they also face disciplinary issues. So disciplinary issues in the judiciary will be a thing of the past. The JSC must be sensitive to magistrates as human beings who move around to dispense justice, just like Christ moved around to preach God's word, meaning the rule of law. So law should be for all of us, whether Christians, Muslims, or otherwise. What we need to do is to know we are human beings and the law is for us. And that even Parliament, when they sit to make laws, they should be sensitive, that the judiciary is a sensitive organ and that is looked upon by everyone, and that it must stand up as light to the other institutions or other organs. Universities as well must come up with the legal programs, mentorship programs that young magistrates can start accepting and appreciating that the role they're getting into is about justice, and that it will not be a smooth ride, and you need support from your association, from your family, from your churches, from the neighborhood you live in.
Thank you,
magistrates need support in terms of housing.
Asante, your time is up. Thank you very much. Honourable Florence Masharia.
What I can say is that I'm not only an employee of the judiciary, but also the bearer of dreams for a better judiciary. And it's not only my dream, but also the dream of over 500 magistrates and cadis for a better judiciary. And I'm committed to making sure that I'm going to articulate all the issues that affect us as judicial officers. I will be your voice in the JSC, and you need that representative that has a human face that is going to listen and will be communicating back, because currently we don't know much about what happens in the JSC or what our representation is doing there. I will be communicating whatever that we'll be doing in the JSC to the constituents, and I give you my word of honor that I'm going to carry no other interest in the JSC but those of the judicial officers, because you're the people with the power, and you'll be delegating that power to me as the representative. So it will not be about me, it will be about you. And I'm also a person who holds high integrity, and that can be seen when I was appointed to perform special assignments in the Anti-Corruption Court in Nairobi. And also, it's also important to note that whatever decision you make on 5th, let's look beyond 5th. If you make a bad decision, you will live with that bad decision for the next 5 years. If you make the best decision, you will live with that best decision for the next 5 years. And I can say is that it's good to care about our welfare. It's also good to be together and as an institution, but it's only one candidate who is fit to serve. And that candidate is Florence Masharia. Vote for Florence Masharia. And I'm even asking my sisters, kindly vote for me because I'm the candidate that is fit to serve. I care and we'll be better together as an institution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Masharia. Honourable Stella Atambo.
Thank you, Eric. To my brothers and sisters, to my dear honorable colleagues, magistrates and caddies, we need a change. We need a culture change. My dear ones, we need a charismatic leader, not a political one. This office or this position calls for a diplomat, one who cares about us, one who will change the last 10 years we've had of status quo. We need a leader we can entrust with our career progression and our general well-being and welfare. I am the voice of change. I am not combative. I understand us. I feel us. I hear us, my dear ones. I will listen and tell our story. We don't need to go to court to get our basic needs in place. Let me say this. I hear you. I will tell our story. And this is my parting shot. There's been turbulence in this ship. There's been turbulence in our ship. Do we change the course or do we sink with the ship? Please, on the 5th of December, come, vote for Stella Atambo, the voice of change, the voice of reason, your very own. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Atambo. And finally, Honourable Dolphina Alego.
Just before I get to what I need to say, I wish to actually have everybody give a standing ovation to the 5 ladies on the platform. It's been a journey. It's really been a journey, and I celebrate all of you. I get to my points. As I started this journey early this year, what I stood for and what I stand for is not about me, Dolphina Atena Lego. What I say is I am just a leader who is a servant, and a servant always has to hear what every other person says. I believe nothing is impossible if we put our minds to it. I believe in excellence and enthusiasm. I believe on a strategic and participatory thinking. I believe in teamwork. In teamwork, I cannot do it alone. We must be the team that you want to be. We can all do it. In that, hashtag mentorship, hashtag teamwork, hashtag service to humanity, hashtag servant leadership. And lastly, we all have to be this together. For whatever religions we profess, I will say, God lead us on the 5th of December, that our vote be our voice. And you know that we have to live with that on the 5th and the next 5 years to come. May God lead us to this journey as we come to closure. Thank you so much, Eric, and all the organizers for this evening. And for those viewers who are listening and who are able to give us this opportunity, we celebrate you. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Hashtag thank you. And thank you very much, ladies. Thank you to all the candidates for the very good points that you've given us this evening. We've come to the end of the question and answer session of today's debate. I'd like to thank you all for participating. You're all qualified. You've all shown that you've got the passion to uphold, advance administration of justice, development of our democracy as a society. I wish you all the best on Saturday. And we wish you all the best as well, even beyond Saturday, as you continue to serve the people of Kenya and the Republic of Kenya. You may now take your seats, ladies. We have heard from the candidates this afternoon, and these are the candidates for the KMJA position in the Judicial Service Commission. The candidates once again are the Honourable Dolphina Alego, Senior Principal Magistrate serving in Kakamega, the Honourable Stella Atambo, Senior Principal Magistrate, currently serving in Kiambu, the Honourable Florence Masharia, Senior Principal Magistrate, currently serving in Shanzu, the Honourable Teresa Bosibori Nyangana, a senior principal magistrate serving in Kiambu, and the Honourable Evelyn Olwande, the senior principal magistrate serving in Limuru. Would like to say thank you very much to all of you who have followed this debate, all of you who have sent your questions. We wish, of course, that you're going to participate, those that are electorate, you're going to participate in this particular election on Saturday. Let's now come to the closing remarks of today's session. And to give the closing remarks, I'm going to invite Julie Madeka. Julie Madeka will speak on behalf of Mr. Abdul Nur Mohammed, who is the Executive Director of ICJ Kenya Chapter. Julie.
Thank you very much, Eric Latif. And since you have a few people here, I think the candidates all deserve a round of applause from everyone.
Indeed.
So let's give them a round of applause. All right. On behalf of the Executive Director of ICJ Kenya, Mr. Abdul Nur Mohammed, I take this opportunity to thank you for attending and actively participating in this event. I am honored to address you at the close of this very interactive, informative, and inclusive debate. Indeed, this successful debate is a manifest of the demonstration of remarkable effort and intention that can be made when institutions work together towards a certain goal. Honorable members and leadership of KMJ, at the debate, 5 able contestants have shared with us their experiences, thoughts, and vision for the envisaged position of magistrates representative at the JSC. You have heard their proposals, and now you have good insights on their intentions. Allow me to thank the able candidates who have brought to them immense knowledge and shared with us their experience and vision for the position. They have provided us with meaningful content that Kenyans can interrogate and critique. My fellow Kenyans, we should all be aware that this conversation does not end here. This should then be the beginning of a conversation towards ensuring that we have the right people in positions of leadership. Further, towards shaping and showing a proper election, proper campaigns, integrity of elections, and as such, this will be mimicked in the 2022 elections. To our candidates, we understand that you have taken time out of your very important schedules. To our participants as well, we appreciate that you have taken time out of your very busy schedules to join this forum to ask questions. So we thank you for that. As we finish, it would not be polite to end without giving gratitude to a few people. First off, I want to give our gratitude to Mr. Eric Latif for the great job that he has done moderating this conversation. I would also like to sincerely thank the ICJ Kenya Council, ICJ Kenya Secretariat, the KMJ Council, the KMJ Secretariat, who have worked tirelessly round the clock to ensure that this debate was a success. Specific thanks to the technical team that has worked behind the background to ensure that this event ran smoothly and broadcasted to you this debate. I would also like to thank the management of the Hilton Hotel, where we are right now, who have allowed us to host this debate here. Remember to engage us on our social media channels. I look forward to the discussion that will emanate from this debate as we officially declare this conversation closed until the remarks by Honorable Kuto, then we declare it closed. But thank you so very much. Asanteni. God bless you. God bless Kenya.
Presenting the Executive Director of ICJ Kenya, Mr. Abdul Nur Mohammed. And now to give the final closing remarks, let's welcome the Secretary General of KMJA, the Honourable Derek Kuto.
Julie Wayua, I think you have you've said it all and given a vote of thanks on behalf of all of us, and I will not take a lot of your time. I want to say that Julie is our daughter because she worked with KMJA before she took up a post at the ICJ, and therefore I think we also deserve some credit because we have given birth to a good daughter. Mr. Latif, I want to appreciate you very sincerely for moderating this debate in a very good way, in a very professional way. You've given an opportunity to our members to interrogate all the issues, and we hope to have you in the near future if we get an opportunity to interrogate on any other issues. To my 5 sisters, on the 5th of December this year, one of you will be our JSC rep in the Judicial Service Commission. We've heard you loud and clear. We've seen your passion. I think you've worked very hard to prepare for this debate. It was quite evident. You've also worked very hard on the campaign trail because we have been following what you have been doing. What I will urge you is that the same passion and energy we want to see it when you get to the Judicial Service Commission so that the issues affecting all of us can be addressed in a good way. I want to thank our colleagues who have participated and the members of the public who have participated in this debate on the social media platforms for all the questions and concerns that you have raised. I think the candidates have heard, and I think you are satisfied. You will make your decision, and like they have said, whatever decision you make, it will affect you for the next 5 years. Thank you so much, ICJ, for agreeing to partner with KMJA. You have been very good partners to us, and I'm making this request in advance, Julia and your team, that next year, when the association will hold the elections now for the officials of KMJA, I hope you will invite Mr. Latif again to moderate a debate for those contestants, because I think when I look at the responses from our members, they're quite excited with what has just happened today. Just to repeat, I want to thank everybody who made this debate a success. I want to thank all the staff, the technical team, the members of the Secretariat, both at ICJ and KMJA. For my colleagues in the Council of KMJA who are not with us here today, on their behalf and on behalf of the entire membership of the association, we wish to thank you very much. I think it goes back to the moderator, Mr. Latif. I began with you. I will again thank you. I'd only heard you and seen you on TV. By the grace of God, you are here. You are a decent gentleman, and we are glad that we can have you another time. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Asante sana. Thank you very much, Honourable Derek Kuto, Secretary General of the Kenya Magistrates and Judges Association. And thank you very much to all the participants who have followed this debate this afternoon, the big debate. We hope that the electorate, you have now better information on how you make your decision at the ballot on Saturday. And for the non-electorate who are following this conversation, now we know that you will have a better idea of who is sitting in the Judicial Service Commission. We want to thank you all. Asanteni sana for following this. God bless you, and God bless the Republic of Kenya.